Welcome to another episode of Mark My Bird. My name's T-Bird,
And I'm Mark Clavin.
and we have a heater of an episode for you today. But first, we have to play you for the second time ever our newfound jingle written by Mark's cousin. So I'd mentioned we have a heater of an episode. Mark, who is our guest today before we kind of wrap about what we've been up to and, of course, what's going on in Cleveland? Who we got today?
Our guest is Iris Pham, young up-and-comer. I don't know if, a lot of people might not know her, but if you pay attention to snowboarding at all or go on the internet, I'm sure they've seen clips of her.
All right, so give us, the fans have asked for it. The people have asked for it. What's up in Cleveland right now? The weather looks real nice. I'll say that.
Weather's pretty nice. Not much going on. I guess I've been listening to a lot of Bare Naked Ladies. That's kind of my new thing going on right now. I don't know if it's very Cleveland specific, but I haven't had a lot going on this week in my life. So that's my update. The Bare Naked Ladies are from Canada, and technically Canada's right across the lake from me. So, maybe I was slightly inspired. So I started listening.
How far across the lake? Are we talking swimmable, stand-up paddleable, or no?
It's 60 miles. So I cannot swim that. No. I don't know if anyone on earth can swim that.
I have a physical challenge for you. I don't know what the prize is or what it would take to get you to do this, but would you stand up paddle from your front yard to Canada?
No. The lake gets pretty big waves in there. There's been I think we're actually the most shipwrecks on the Great Lakes have been in Lake Erie. So 0% chance. During the winter though, when it used to freeze completely over, people would walk from Cleveland to Canada, but a few of them, I believe, passed away because with windstorms and stuff, you can get lost and then you're just kind of on a frozen tundra.
Does the entire lake freeze over, the whole thing?
Back in the day, it used to get over 90%. This winter, I think we were under 8%, which does not bode well for summer. That's how when you have major algae blooms and the water obviously does not get as clean if it's just kind of warm and growing disgusting growth all winter.
Last thing before we get to our guest, we do have some stats that have come in. Mark, do you have them handy? Did you get an email last week or a couple days ago?
Oh yeah. Random email with somebody trying to put some sponsors on our podcast. Let's see. We are currently 157 in the category in sports in the country of Chile. We are position 202 in the category of sports in the country of Canada, which, big country.
I would honestly say, for the Canada thing, there's probably 101 hockey podcasts and 101 curling podcasts that are just ahead of us.
Yeah. I'll take 202. That's not bad. And then in Sweden, we are 231. So shout out to Sven Torgren, and all the Canadian snowboarders that have been listening to us, and then
Manuel Diaz, down in Chile. He's probably played our podcast 157 times.
Perfect. So hey, 5 weeks in, we got rankings. I wasn't expecting that, so that's fun.
Keep the rankings coming. Yeah, that's exciting stuff, Mark. Well done. Good research. Nice job.
We should get a t-shirt that says we're the 157th best sports podcast in Chile.
Well, yeah, we definitely should. Let's make that.
All right, intro time.
Intro time, buddy. This is exciting. I'm stoked.
Okay, living out of her van the past 2 seasons by choice. She has been on a rise unparalleled to any other up-and-comer that either me and Bird can think of, filming parts for full projects as well as dropping a self-produced part on her own, landing on podiums at major events the past few seasons like The Uninvited most recently, Red Bull's Heavy Metal, the Bombhole Dogfight, as well as strong performances at the past 2 Dew Tours and this most recent X Games. An absolute powerhouse on the Never Summer team, she has been traveling nonstop since I met her a few seasons ago and has been stacking clips in the streets as well as making some small strides into the backcountry. She is also the only person I can say that has tacoed the Baja Blast Rail specifically while on live TV at the Dew Tour. Fresh off a Bombhole podcast, most recently filming for Desiree Melançon's upcoming project, A Midwinter Night's Dream, and one of our favorite photographers, Mike Yoshida's favorite riders of all time. Welcome to the podcast, Iris Pham.
Wow. Thank you, Mark.
No
That
problem.
was so nice.
Nice
That
to
was
see
a
you.
Mark, that was a really good intro. Best intro
Yeah,
yet.
good job.
Well done, buddy.
Thank
You're like, actually, you kind of seem like you know what you're doing.
I mean, it's not that hard to look up like a few facts about friends and snowboarders you like.
Yeah, but the flavor of the Baja Blast Rail. What is this Baja Blast Rail? What are we talking about here?
Iris, you can answer that one.
I guess it was just the rail at the end of the Dew Tour course. I got a little excited and clipped the front of it.
Did you go for a taco because Baja Blast is exclusively only at Taco Bell?
Yep.
Oh, God.
My apologies. The jokes will only get worse from here.
Iris, I think we've only met maybe once or twice. I remember at the Rail Jam in Salt Lake City, I met you, but I just have to say what a gigantic fan I am. And Mark is very correct in saying that we haven't seen like a rider kind of take over the scene like you have in the last couple of years in quite some time.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your background. Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from Bozeman, Montana. I grew up riding at Bridger Bowl. I mostly rode there when I was little, and then in high school I started riding at Big Sky Resort. The park was a little bit better there, but it would mostly just be my dad and I on the weekends. I skied till I was 9. We would like hike the ridge and find little cliffs and cool terrain for me to ride down and find a nice spot to like post up and film it. And we'd make like fun little videos from the day with some little lo-fi beat song, and he'd post it like on Facebook or something. And that's kind of just how I started. I wanted to go to the skate park when I was a little kid, so I was a little used to standing sideways, and my dad snowboarded, so like around 9 I wanted to try snowboarding.
And when did kind of the street component like click for you? When did like street snowboarding start talking to you and you kind of realize this is maybe the route that I want to at least start in?
I guess I had always followed around like skier boys around Bridger Bowl. There was a team called like the Bridger Freestyle team or something, and they would like hit the park, and they had 2 coaches that were like college kids and used to jib, so they knew how to like teach them how to hit jumps and stuff. And I would kind of just chase them around, and I started just trying to get better at the park at first. I didn't really realize it was like leading into this street aspect yet, but I just followed the ski boys around and tried to get better and made Instagram edits. And then I guess it really happened when I got invited to the first Red Bull Heavy Metal. I hit the Cascade Rail in Duluth, and that was like my first street rail, and I just met everybody for the first time and was like, wow, this is a real thing. And yeah, some of the ski boys I followed around kind of made a crew called Entourage and started filming like street and backcountry skiing. And one of the homies, Jack Price, would make the edit. This past year they put out like their 4th video, and I kind of just joined them. I was just like the only girl and the only snowboarder. They kind of needed me, but they put me on, which is, I'm super grateful for those boys.
Did you watch any snowboarders at that point? Like, were you watching anyone's street footage or anything, or that Red Bull Heavy Metal was your first introduction to like street snowboarding?
Maybe before then I had probably seen some of Jill's videos and like the Uninvited. I guess my dad also kind of like knew of Too Hard, so he showed me them. I would like watch some of Jib Girl growing up, but there wasn't too many like street video influences, more so like Instagram.
I mean, I think that's probably more and more common with like younger riders, that instead of watching a ton of full parts and full movies, like there's people that can kind of recall Instagram clips better than movie parts now, I'm sure.
Yeah, that would make sense. It's easier.
Yeah, much less attention span, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's shocking to me because it makes me realize how old I am.
For your for your dad, just how kind of crazy is it that, you know, you guys started snowboarding together when you were 9, and now, you know, roughly a decade later, you're a sponsored rider and you guys are still getting a ride together?
Yeah, it's definitely crazy. It's a dream come true. It's not something I ever really thought would happen. I remember my dad would show me kind of like some like competitions, maybe like Miss Super Park, or I don't really know what it was. I don't really know if those were competitions, but I just watched some people do USSA competitions, and I just watch on YouTube, and I was like, okay, you kind of like, that's what you need to be doing. And like, you need to have a coach. I don't know. I kind of felt like there was like a way to do it, and I like wasn't able to. Mainly, I don't know, there wasn't many snowboarders in Montana for me to watch and be like, oh, I can do that too. Like, I was just kind of like the only one. So I don't know. It's really special that it's all fallen into place.
And how
Yeah.
did it all fall into place? Like, how did you go from girl in Montana to like sponsored rider for Never Summer and various other sponsors? Did that all happen through the kind of heavy metal invite?
I guess I went to Mount Hood one summer and I saw Sam Klein and Emily O'Connor's van in the parking lot. My dad, like, I had a couple different snowboards when I first started, but then eventually he got me the Never Summer Infinity, which I just always kept riding. We'd always get like old demo boards off of eBay. And so I just always rode that board. So when I'd post like on Instagram and stuff, I would tag Never Summer, but they'd never really do anything about it. So I was just like, whatever, like, I don't know. And then, so seeing their van at Hood, I was super excited. I was like, I want them to see my board. Like, I went over to them. They were like hiking a rail and I just started hiking it with them. And Emily right away was like, what board is that? Like, sick, you're on a Never Summer. And that's kind of just how it started. And from then they sent me a board and I don't know. From there, it kind of progressed. They wanted me to go to Trollhagen for Take the Rake. So they helped me go there. And then I made an edit from Trollhagen and it kind of went off. It was a good edit. And I think that's why I got the invite to heavy metal. And then it kind of just kept going from there. And now I've just been going to a lot of the events and being a part of the scene.
Well, and you mentioned you saw Sam Klein's van. For the audience that's only listening on Spotify and Apple, it to me right now looks like Iris is in a very nice apartment, but it is in fact a van. I even see like, is that a CO2 detector over your left shoulder?
Yeah, I gotta stay safe in here.
Talk a little bit about van life and your program and what it kind of looks like.
I guess I could start with getting the van. I bought it last December after I won the dogfight event. It was the biggest purchase I've ever made, and it had a salvage title and a hole in the roof. So I had to let it sit in my dad's driveway for like 3 months till I could get the hole fixed. And I just traveled around and chilled. And then last May, I was finally back home for the summer. And my dad's good friend, he owns a company called Beartooth Van Works, and he helped me like build van. Mostly I did a lot of the work on my own, but he helped me like measure certain zones and be like, okay, cut these many pieces of this size wood. And then I would like go cut them and sand and stain and seal them and then be like, okay, I'm ready to put it in. So the van build took like a month and a half of working like every single day. And then my little brother and I headed out to Mammoth for a month last summer, and that was kind of the first like test of the van. And there's obviously been like some problems that have come up throughout the way that have taught me a lot about like just like persevering, I guess, and dealing with something that like sometimes might feel like the end of the world or like, uh-oh, this is really bad, and like I would freak out, but it's taught me a lot. And then now I've been just living out of it all winter. I've mostly been in Salt Lake City. I guess I've also driven it to Nelson, British Columbia twice and to Flagstaff, Arizona. We went to the Grand Canyon. I've driven it to Mammoth twice. And yeah, I've kind of taken it all around. It's really nice to have all of my stuff with me. I've got my surfboard, my skateboard, my snowboards, like a slack line, a hammock. I don't know. I can like go do a bunch of fun stuff whenever I want, and it feels good.
What kind of van is it? What's the year, make, and model? What are we talking about?
2017 Ram ProMaster.
Nice.
None of that can be cheap. How much money have you won in rail jams over the past 2 seasons? Have you added it up yet, or you're just like, whatever, I'm just kind of taking it?
I really haven't, I don't know, maybe like I haven't added it up, but it's also really not like that crazy much.
Right.
This past like recently winning the 10 grand at Uninvited was the most I've ever won, and that's like gonna help me a lot.
That was a sick prize. That was a sick prize purse. Was that bigger than like the potential Dew Tour prize purse?
I don't think so. I think that first place was a little less than Dew Tour, but some people like win multiple awards, so you can definitely come out with quite a bit of money from that event. Pretty insane.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at photos of all the big check photos I've taken at these rail jams and kind of look at what the numbers were.
Yeah.
What are some tricks and tips to van life, right? Because I remember like talking to people who live in vans, and you're kind of finding these misty parking lots. Are there websites you go to figure out like free campsites or resorts that allow overnight parking?
And just to say, like back in 2011, van life was like huge in snowboarding. There was whole sections in snowboarding magazines about rigs and like what people were running. And then it just went away for a very long time Mostly because I think people realized, I'd rather probably have an apartment. But sorry, go. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's hear about your van life.
There's definitely like interesting parts of it. I guess I kind of just got to keep up on mostly one, my water, which is just like a 6-gallon jug that comes out, and I usually just fill it up in like homies' houses because I've been around homies. But I could always like take it into the store where they do the like 50 cent per gallon or something, and then I have a diesel heater, but the van is regular gas, so I have like a extra diesel tank in the back where I have to like keep that fill to have heat. But those are kind of the two like things I have to keep up on. And then for like parking, I have an app called iOverlander, and it has like little pins of like there's little icons of like water, parking, like I don't know, just different like things that people have kind of mapped out where they're like, and then they kind of write like the date and like when they hung out there and what they did and what the vibe was like. So sometimes I go on there. Like I said, I've been parking in Salt Lake a lot, so there's like a lot of homies' houses to park at. So I've been kind of just like being at friends' houses. But just getting to Boise last night, my dad and I were like, where should we park? And we just like found a residential street kind of like in front of a dark house and parked there for the night, and it seemed fine. So you just kind of find your little nooks and crannies.
And what a way to spend like the early start of your career. Do you realize how special it is? Because one day it probably won't be van life and you'll be a successful snowboarder. Are you going to look back on this and be like, man, that was such a cool time in my life?
Definitely. This has been like a dream of mine, kind of. My mom like always had talked about living in a van growing up. More so like if we were living in like Florida or California or something. Like my mom always wanted to live in a warm place, but like van life has been one of her dreams. So kind of became one of mine. And then like I started living this life where I travel a lot. And like when I graduated high school, I was like, okay, like my friends are going to go to college and start like renting apartments with their friends. And like I didn't really think it made sense for me to post up in one spot. So having the van like is ultimately saving me money, I think, because it wouldn't really make sense to buy or pay rent like in one place because I'm not going to be there. So yeah, I definitely think it's special, and I actually think I'm probably going to do it for a while longer as well. This van currently is like a mid roof, like I kind of have to be like that, like bending my neck a little to stand up. So I'm just saving money to eventually get a little bigger van, and I think that will suit me for like a good amount of my life. I don't know. I could see myself doing it for a while.
Mark, I kind of feel like Cleveland is your van.
I don't know. Yeah. We do have some, we have water problems here. We have gas problems as well. Yeah. I don't know how to take that actually.
That was the point of it.
It's like a broken down van on the side of 90 East where like you're trying to go to a major city and you just got stuck by a lake in Ohio. Yeah. That's about it. Any major van problems that you've had on the road?
I think I kind of told you about this one last year when we were talking, but when Bentley and I went to Mammoth, we had the like CV joint problem. So when I would drive at like 40 miles per hour, it was shaking a lot, and then fixed that. And since there was I don't know, a stupid check engine light thing on, so that people like had to plug something in a little better and it went away. But that was kind of like a challenge to figure out. Like there's so many things that like aren't actually that hard to figure out. It's just like a lack of communication or like the mechanics like trusting what I say, because I think a lot of the time I know what's going on, and I've had to learn to be like a little more bold. Like, okay, can I please like walk into the garage and like point to where it is? Because like I do know what's going on most of the time. I just don't know like how to fix it sometimes. So it's been a lot of learning how to communicate with those types of people, and it's good for me. I'm learning a lot. I guess recently I went to Holy Bowly in Banff and left my fridge and freezer on for a week, which I should not have done. And it drained my battery so low that the battery like over discharged. So I just had to spend a couple extra days in Salt Lake and kind of like trickle charge my battery back up to a certain voltage so that it would like allow me to charge it with my alternator or my solar panels again, because it kind of like shut down and was like no charging. So but that was like another learning thing for me. I was like, what's going on? Did I fry my battery? Like, it's hard.
We need to get Iris like a Napa or like AutoZone sponsorship. That's what we
For
need to
real.
focus on.
Yeah, that's what I need. That's another thing. Egan and I were using like these little clamps, like jumper cables or whatever, to try to like get it on there, and we were being all aggressive and broke one of these like wires off my fuse box. And I went to O'Reilly's and like explained it, and the guy just fixed it just for me. So sometimes I run into people who are like blessings, and it's really awesome. There's a lot of like cool little moments that happen when stuff is hitting the fan and I have to fix it.
For some reason, all I can think about is like if you're driving the highway and your whole van is shaking and you look in like your rear view mirror, it'd probably be the same as like being in an apartment during a major earthquake. You're just watching all of your life's belongings just shaking uncontrollably. And as far as last year, you had a hole in your van. I had a hole in my house where I accidentally plugged two parts of a window that normally drain. So when water came through the window, instead of draining out, it drained inside of my house, and it dripped through. I was sitting at this table and it started coming through the lighting fixtures in my ceiling, in my kitchen. So I just had water pouring all over my kitchen. Very fun.
Oh my gosh. Good job, Mark.
I had water coming through a lighting fixture. We got a new roof on our house, and they had forgot to put like this metal sheeting. You know, it had kind of like lifted up, so it was leaking into my attic. And one morning I woke up and I came out to make my daughter breakfast, and I just stepped in a puddle, and I thought one of my dogs had peed on the floor, and I was kind of like, oh man. Like, they're 9 and 10 years old. Like, why are they peeing on the floor? And then I just felt the drips on the top of my head.
Oh
my
God.
Like the water torture. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And it was literally coming through the actual like light fixture in my ceiling.
Oh my gosh. That's
So
crazy.
just know that it happens to houses, it happens to vans, it happens to all sorts of domiciles.
Yeah, there's
And
always
a clogged toilet is terrible in either. Do you have a full kitchen in your van?
Yeah, I have a sink and a stove and a fridge and a freezer.
I guess, yeah, that'd be a full. What's like the go-to gourmet meal when you're on the road that you make?
Ooh, great question.
I have a mini rice cooker, and sometimes I'll just go like stir fry vibe. This year I've been kind of like liking tofu, which is kind of weird. At first I didn't really like it, but I've been putting this like chili oil peanut sauce on it, and that's good. Recently, Egan, Sierra, and I have been making spring rolls. We've been making spring rolls for like a month. It's I like can't stop eating spring rolls. Just like those rice papers with rice noodles and cucumber and mint and cilantro and bean sprouts and stuff.
Dude, shred up some tofu and fry it up and toss it in your spring rolls. It's delicious.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm on.
I want to talk a little bit about Dez's project.
Yeah.
It sounds incredible. Can you let our audience know a little bit about what the film is, who's in it, and what you've been up to?
So it's Des. Ted Borland is filming. Egan went, Sierra, Grace Warner's joined us a little bit. And Seb Picard joined us in Japan, which was sick. In December, we went to Helsinki in Finland. I had never traveled across the ocean before, so that was really exciting. It was new to be filming with that crew in a foreign country, and I don't know, I just had never filmed like with them all before, and we went and like scoped some spots, and then we were like, okay, let's hit them. And like at first I was nervous, like I don't know, we were kind of hitting big spots, and I just wasn't too familiar with the crew, but eventually it kind of like opened up to Egan, and we've become like really good friends over this year, I think, with that trip kind of starting it off. And then Ted like has really gained like a gist on like my ability and skill level, and he like really knows how to teach me like how to do tricks, and he like knows what tricks I can do, and it's really nice to like have someone else believing in you, like maybe even more than you believe in yourself. And then like it just works out really well. He's like, you can do this, and like teaches me kind of how to do it. And we set up the spots like really comfortable and safe. I guess that's another thing. He's like teaching me how to set up spots like really well. I think that Sam Klein last year like taught me that from the start, but this year I kind of like gained a little more grip of like what's going on and where to cover and like how to just make it feel good for yourself. And then a couple months ago we went to Japan, and it was full crew. Des got hurt for Finland, so she couldn't come, which was major bummer. But full crew was there in Japan, plus Seb Picard, and that was like dream trip. I just didn't really think like at this time in my life I'd be getting to go there yet. Like my dad always talked about it being like the sickest place to go, and like all of a sudden I'm going. It was pretty surreal. I'm like loved all the new experiences, like taking your shoes off and all the new food we ate. Like we ate raw horse and cuttlefish and eel and I don't know, just a bunch of weird stuff, and saw a lot of different ways of life. It was cool. And then on top of it, I'm like hitting the scariest stuff I've ever hit. So it's a lot of new stuff. And
Prior to this trip, had you traveled outside the country before?
to Canada and Mexico.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But no, like, but not for snow, like no big international snowboarding trips. This is your first year going international?
Yeah.
Damn. So you hit 2 new continents this winter.
Yeah.
Very cool. I will say
Yeah.
too, thinking about, my times in Japan and my time in Helsinki, I've been a multitude of times to both countries. I don't know if you had any run-ins with the cops, but run-ins with the cops in Japan are completely different than run-ins with the cops in Helsinki.
Yeah, Japan is crazy, the not being able to communicate.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so different. Like the characters, I don't know. Like Helsinki is a little more like, okay, I see their correct letters at least. Like, I don't know.
And
Pretty crazy.
the police in Helsinki are like kind of super down with you hitting street stuff. They kind of just say like, hey, clean up when you're done and we're all good here. They don't really bust you. But in Japan, they're very like, no, this is outside of the rule of law that we know, and you're not allowed to do this under no circumstances. Like they're straight up like, no, you can't do this. And you try to talk. You try to talk to them. You're like, no, we're professionals. Like you'll say like X Games. Like I'm filming for X Games. And
Yeah.
like, no, I don't really care. You're not doing it.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
The food difference between Japan and Helsinki, or Japan and Finland. Way
And
better
this is
food.
kinda
You can
funny, like,
you
all I
can
can
say
think
way better
about-
food in Japan. Oh, sorry.
All I can think about eating in Finland was a kebab because I'd never had one. And Freddie Perry was like, you need a kebab. And then we ate them. And when we were done, he was like, that was the worst kebab I've ever had in my life. And I was like, what the heck? So I guess I had the worst kebab ever in Finland. And in Japan, like there's so many cool foods. We did the conveyor sushi. That was just exciting. We also went to this place called Gusto. It's kind of like Denny's, I think, like in equivalent to America, but like a little robot would come deliver all of our food, and you like order on iPad and then the little robot just comes over and brings it. So that was really cool. And I guess other than that, like we would usually just go to 7-Eleven every morning and get like onigiri triangles and like little snacks, little gooey treats and stuff, and then just eat that for the day, and then usually go out for a dinner, which was usually like 1,000 yen, like $10 every night. Like that was probably the best part, is eating in Japan is just like super worth it.
And to the lay person, right? To any American, someone that has never been to Japan, you say that like we went and got lunch at 7-Eleven, like a hot lunch at 7-Eleven, and they're like, dude, are you fucking crazy?
Yeah.
But it is not like the 7-Elevens here. Like the food is so good. There are 7-Elevens and Lawson's over there where they have straight up sushi chefs like rolling sushi all day. And the food in 7-Elevens in Japan is like nothing to fear. Whereas here, what would happen if you got sushi in 7-Eleven in like Boise, Idaho? Like you'd be hospitalized.
That'd be so bad. Yeah, you'd need a few days.
Yeah, no, the food in Japan is unparalleled. And I will say in Helsinki and Stockholm, like pretty much all of Scandinavia, world-class candy. Like the greatest candy you have ever eaten in your entire life. I don't know how to describe it, but it's so much better than anything we have in the US. The candy
seriously.
World
They have it like in the store in bulk, and you just like put it all in the one bag. That was something that Freddie was teaching us about, the like salty candy. Like they love it. Like it's so salty.
Yeah. There was like a black licorice with flake salt on it that I got like addicted to when I was over there. And that's not something
you liked it?
Not something I would normally eat, but I just had like it, I don't know. It agreed with my palate. Let's say that. I loved it.
That's good. I tried it and was just like, I'm not going to try again, but it's cool to try.
And you guys had no run-in with the cops in either country?
Not in Finland. In Japan, I remember Seb, Egan, and Ted all went for like a little quick mission with just the 3 of them to like hit this roof to rail, and they got kicked out. But I'm pretty sure it was pretty chill. They just told them to leave.
As far as like you were saying hitting new spots and like dangerous spots the past 2 seasons, especially in a foreign country, how do you get the confidence as like you're new to all of this. How do you get like the confidence to step up to a spot like that and hit it? Because like when I shot with you, you stepped up to a spot extremely quick, very easy, laced it in 2 tries, and we're done. Like stylish as hell. You were one of the easier people to photograph I've had the pleasure of working with in the past 2 years.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. I guess I think I just have to like take deep breaths. Like it's not like in my like nature to not be scared. I'm definitely really scared. And like usually like jumping on for the first time, like touching the rail is the scariest part. And I've had to learn to like get past that sooner than later. Like just go dink your board on the rail real quick to be like, okay, I touched it. Then I know I can fully commit. But I do kind of have to like do a little ease in period for like the first 5 or 10 minutes when I'm deciding I'm gonna hit it. And then I guess also like learning to calm myself down has been something in the last little bit. I kind of think it comes from like Sam Klein. He, when I first met him, showed me like this Wim Hof breathing technique, and it's kind of crazy. Like I used to try it before rail jams or just like big days, and like I'll still do it sometimes. I definitely don't do it like every day like he does, but I don't know, you just like breathe like at this rhythm, and then the video that I follow from him, you like hold your breath at some point, and it kind of makes you feel like crazy, like kind of high. I don't know what it is, but it's a good way to kind of like calm yourself down. And then like in terms of when I'm actually standing right in front of the rail, I like take a deep breath and like exhale and drop. And like I kind of time that with my dropping, but that's definitely important to just like be calm.
Well, and I can't think of a better person like filmer to spend your winter with than Ted Borland, because as you were saying, it's so important to learn the little intricacies of street snowboarding, like setting up a spot in a safe way, easing yourself into it, not just like throwing yourself head first down a flight of stairs. And Ted legitimately has like an actual like PhD in street snowboarding. Like there's nobody better at street snowboarding in a full scale sense than Ted. So having him filming must have been a huge come up.
For sure. It was awesome. Ted taught me a lot this year. And he's also just like a really fun, happy person to be around. It's cool. He's my friend, but he's also like showing me like a lot of good skills that I'm going to use for the rest of my life.
Ted has a PhD. I have a CTE in street snowboarding.
I was going to say maybe like GED, Mark.
No, I never got to that far. I did not pass my GED in snowboarding in any sense.
Iris, I don't know if you were kind of part of the scene when Clavin was in his like actual hitting street spots phase, but if you've never seen Clavin hit an actual street spot, it's a sight to behold. It's a beautiful thing.
I feel like I've seen a clip of, I don't know what it was. Don't you have like some signature fall?
There's too many.
You were talking about breathing. The way that Mark approaches breathing before hitting a street spot is he holds his breath for about 60 seconds until he's just about to pass out, and then with his last breath he yells drop. So he's kind of dizzy. He doesn't
it's how you stay. It's how you keep loose. Your body just has no oxygen in it left. That's my secret. No, I've heard of the box breathing, the 8-8-8, and then the 5-7-8. There's a couple of different ones. I've tried that. Now, do you get more nervous when you're hitting a spot filming or when you're about to drop in at Do Tour or X Games or something like that?
Ooh, great question.
I don't know. It's kind of like this like scared anxiety thing that happens at both of them. I think at a street spot, it depends on the crew too. Like, because sometimes the crew will make me feel rushed or who knows. But like if the crew is all good and patient and stuff, you usually know that you can just like wait until you're feeling really comfortable and ready, and like, okay, I just ate and I just sat down for a second after shoveling, and like now I'm ready and I feel good. Like at Do Tour, they're just like, I mean, you obviously know the schedule of the day and everything, but it's kind of like, okay, at this time we're starting, and then like here are the heats. Okay, you're in this heat. Okay, you're going after this person. Where are you? Strap in. All right, you're good to drop. And like it's kind of like you're snowboarding not like at your own pace, which is okay. And like if you follow the schedule and know when everything's happening, you shouldn't feel too like, oh my God, I have to go right now. But sometimes it does feel a little bit like that. So I think maybe at the events I get a little more nervous.
Anytime you actually drop in though, then you do not look nervous at all. It looks like you're on like way more muscle relaxants than anybody should be on.
That's good.
You listen to, like, I know in a couple past interviews you've talked about like you listen to music a lot for those contests, just kind of lock in and kind of like just blank everything out.
Yeah, this year's Do Tour I listened to Bobby Shmurda, same song all day.
About a week ago or whatever it is.
Yeah,
that one goes.
After such a whirlwind winter, I mean, we were kind of talking a little bit before the show. you're at a river wave in Boise, you're driving around in the van. What is the thaw out unwinding process from a whirlwind winter look for Iris Pham?
Yeah, I grew up doing a lot of activities actually that they were all pretty as important as snowboarding. Snowboarding just kind of like eventually gave me this way of life that's like providing me money and friends and lots of cool opportunities. So I'm like obviously doing that a lot more. But in the last couple years, my dad and I have got pretty into river surfing. Usually we would like it just started in Montana on the Yellowstone, but yeah, right now we're in Boise at this like man-made wave, checking it out, which is cool. And like springtime is like the time for river surfing. There's another wave in Wyoming that we've gone to. So kind of just doing a little bit of that. The season's not fully over. I'm still making my way to Mount Hood right now for the rest of the spring pass. Ted, Egan, and Sierra, and Kennedy Deck, and Emma Crosby, we're all going to go out there and try to hit some hips and round out our parts for the year. But once I get back to Bozeman, I'll like be mountain biking. I get a pass at Big Sky and go downhill. And there's also a trail like behind my dad's house called Leverage. And it's like a nice loop, but you have to bike up a good ways, which is hard. Like the first couple times I do it in the summer, I'm so gassed. I like feel like I'm going to die. So just going to like start getting back into good shape, kind of biking and surfing, swimming around.
Yeah, because like being conditioned for a snowboard season is so much different than being conditioned for like mountain bike season. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. I think like we hike a lot snowboarding, so like we're in good shape, but like even swimming yesterday for the first time, I was like feeling really lazy.
With all the opportunities you're kind of getting through sponsors and all that, like a lot of people sometimes with all those opportunities, they actually end up snowboarding less. Do you think you've been snowboarding more like every season? Or do you think you've been kind of like, do you get hindered?
I think I've been snowboarding differently. Like I snowboarded a lot, like especially like sophomore year when COVID started. So then like junior and senior year, I was snowboarding like every single day, but that's like always at the mountain. So I was like always riding the park, like always progressing myself. Where this year I'm like going on a lot of trips and like you have a lot of travel days at the airport or driving or whatever, which takes a couple days off. And then like scoping spots takes a day. And then like the other homies have to get clips, which takes a day. So like, yeah, sometimes I do feel like I'm snowboarding less, not in a bad way, but I do feel sometimes I wish I was snowboarding like the park a little more. Like I'm excited to go to Hood and like practice tricks again. Like when you go to the streets, you kind of do tricks that you can always do. I mean, not always, but that's typically what I'm doing at least. And at the events, you do your tricks that you have unlocked. So it's not, I feel like I haven't been trying that many new things a lot this year, which makes me go crazy. But, yeah, just gonna try to ride the park.
Do you ever miss riding and like having a full season in Montana? I guess you're only like a few seasons since then, but yeah.
I actually do. I was able to go for like a couple days this year, which was really nice to see all my friends and my little brother and ride at home. But it's nice going to other places. There's lots of things to see and stuff, and I don't know, different zones. It's fun to scope it out. But I do miss I missed going to closing weekend at Big Sky. I should have done that this year. Like it's always fun for those like party days.
Yeah, that because with like photography and for me and Bird, it's pretty funny because I snowboarded a ton like before. It's the same thing. Even out in Ohio, like I would have, as many days as the resort was open, I rode every day. And then you kind of like, you get more jobs, you get more successful, you start doing more stuff. Travel days are huge. And yeah, it's like, for us, it's like, yeah, I used to ride every day. And now it's like, yeah, I'm getting the shots for all the different riders or the friends. And then you realize like, I didn't get too many like fun days to ride this year. I was on my snowboard a lot.
Totally. Yeah. You're getting like the same amount of time as you used to strapped into a snowboard, but it's just different than it used to.
Yeah, for sure.
Would you say there's been a lot more benefits being a sponsored snowboarder than working at Pita Pit?
Yeah.
You sure? Free pita is pretty delicious.
Yeah, I miss my free pita and my falafel.
Was that Pita Pit in Montana?
Yeah, in Bozeman.
Didn't you? I think at one point we were talking when you were doing the van life stuff, you were talking about potentially like going to different pita pits and just kind of clocking in for hours. Like you're a pro.
No.
You know what you're doing. You know how to roll a pita.
I guess I could do that, but my dad's good friend owns the one in Bozeman. That's kind of like why I started working there. And then whenever I come, I'm just like, what up, Joe? And we like, I don't know, he knows about me and my life, and it's nice. We can just like hang out for the day. And yeah, I know how to do it, which is cool. Maybe I'll go run it up in there a couple days this summer. But
I used to hit the pita pit in Mammoth, like downtown Mammoth, hard at like 2 a.m.
sick. I just went to that one for the first time this year, and they had different ingredients. I was bummed. No
Whoa.
boom boom sauce.
Is pita pit all over? Like we had them. Yeah, what's the nicest pita pit you've been to in the United States?
I don't know. I actually haven't been to that many.
That would actually not be a bad sponsorship. You should run up that one up the corporate ladder, get a little franchising going. Oh, another thing is with your van life, that has to be probably the easiest way to pack for a flight ever. You can just roll up into like a airport parking lot. You have all your stuff. Have you ever missed a flight?
Not because of my van. One time I did, like in New York during the big snow thing. I kind of blew it.
That's
Packing
a tough
out of my
weekend.
van, it's interesting. It's like I have a roof box on the roof and my board bag's in there. So I like get my ladder out and get my board bag, and then I kind of like make a pile of all my clothes on my bed, and then like try to figure out where to lay the board bag in here. Usually I just pack in Egan's house. Like, I don't know. It's definitely kind of weird going from like, because everything's pretty packed in here. Like I have my little closet, and like there's like a little nook for everything. So it's like I'm getting everything out of its little nook, throwing it all into this bag. And then when I get back, I'm like, now I have to put it all back. But it's fine.
Was that
It's
for
kind of-
was the big snow thing you're referencing for Game of Snow?
Yeah.
And how did that feel, being a part of that with riders you've looked up to kind of your entire youth?
That was crazy. It was really crazy at the beginning to just kind of be like in the events and like a part of it. I don't know. I had only ever done the rail jam, or like I guess it was called the terrain park jam at Bridger Bowl growing up, and there was like never girls, so I just go against like some boys, and I don't know, it was fun, but it just like wasn't a real competition. So like starting to show up to the real competitions with like Jill and Grace Warner and I don't know, just like real snowboarders, I was like, this is pretty crazy. And is specifically at that one, I kind of like kept going, and I was like, holy crap, now I'm against Jill. Like I'm scared.
You played basketball in high school, right?
Yeah.
And Jill played college. Have you ever played Jill in basketball as well?
No.
Next time, if it comes down to like a tie in a game of snow, you should just do like a final overtime with maybe like a game to 5.
Okay.
Do you still play basketball at all?
Not really.
The
Yeah.
WNBA just started like 2 days ago. It was very exciting.
Oh.
First game. That's the first WNBA game I've ever watched.
Sick.
Yeah.
It's the Caitlin Clark effect, man. She's
Yeah.
electric city. Before we kind of wrap it up, I do want to go back to something Clavin said in the intro, and that you are one of our favorite people's favorite people. Mike Yoshida, absolutely love that dude. How did you and Yosh link up?
I think it was because of the Soy Sauce Nation event. I met him at like the first one that they did at Boreal, and he's just super nice and awesome. And we have like nice positive vibes, which I think kind of was like cool. We just look at each other and smile, and that's nice. And then like eventually, I don't know why, he started calling me like weed muffin. Then
You don't know why? You live in
well,
a
I
van.
guess I do know why.
Yeah. Okay.
Then I wanted to come up with a name for him, and we were at this like Japanese restaurant or something, and they had curry puff. So I was like, ha, curry puff. So now I call him Curry Puff. I think it was last year at the Soy Sauce Nation at Boreal. I was driving around with Nolly and Skiba. We were trying to just find a spot or like find something to do. And there was like this little road gap thing. And so Nolly and I just kind of started hitting it and messing around, and I was like, this is actually really sick. Like called Yosh and was like, could you like come here? Like, this is cool. And he didn't have a car, so he borrowed someone let him eventually borrow his car, and he made it, and we ended up getting a really sick photo. And that was kind of like a cool special moment. I like didn't know him all that well and decided to call him to see if he'd come take a photo, and he did, and that was really kind of him, and the photo was cool. And then I decided to hop in his car after that to like head back to the house we were staying at, and my van had been in the shop. Like I was obviously gone, but the mechanic called me and he was like, hey, like I just discovered something. So this is like right after the hole in the roof gets fixed, and then he calls and says that like the transmission is leaking and it's like bad. And like I just was like, uh-oh. I like start crying. I'm like, oh my God, like new problem. And I'm with Yosh and just tell him about it. And he like was super supportive, and he's like, just it's all gonna be okay, like whatever. And so from then on, I kind of always like updated him on the van and how it was going, and it kind of became like a way that we keep in touch. And then this summer I kind of like I took a lot of videos building the van out, and I like eventually want to make them into like a nice like video of me building it. But last summer I kind of just tried to make like some quick little cuts of it, and I put them on TikTok. Yosh said he watched every single one. He's
Of course,
like, I love
Yosh is
your
on.
TikTok. Yeah, I watched your new TikTok today. Like, I don't know. He's just so nice and sweet and kind, and it means a lot to me. That's really sweet that he says that.
Did you guys shot a road gap too together, right?
Yeah, that's the photo I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. What road is that?
Somewhere like in Tahoe, Donner.
There was this like 2-year span when we were all working at Snowboarder where I don't know where Yosh bought it. I'm assuming it was like a gas station, but he bought this monster t-shirt, and I'm talking the logo was like neck to waist. Like the whole thing was the scratch. And we would be at these like springtime park shoots, and Yosh would just bust out the t-shirt, and he just became Monster Mike. And so I remember like you'd be shooting photos and you'd hear people yelling from all over the place, like all the photographers and video dudes just screaming Monster Mike at the top of their lungs.
For people that don't know, could you explain Soy Sauce Nation?
Yeah, Soy Sauce Nation is made by Irvana Ortiz, Max Tokunaga, and Andrew Kelly, AK. They kind of started it just like on Instagram, and it kind of started with a sticker, and people would just put the sticker on their board, Soy Sauce Nation, and like sometimes they'd post on Instagram, and my dad just kind of showed me the page at first, and I like started tagging them, and eventually they started having events. Their first one was at Hood. I didn't make it to that one, but I think it had like 30 or so people. And then now for the past 3 years, they've done it at Boreal. And like this past year, there was like almost 200 people. So it's grown. It's just a community for Asian people to get together and snowboard and hang out.
Yeah, it's such a cool thing. It looks like such an awesome event. And yeah, I remember seeing the sticker and I was like, what is that? And at that time, I think it was just a sticker, right? They were like, oh, we don't quite know yet. So to see what it's grown into as this gathering and like cultural event is just so freaking cool.
There's a Cleveland connection for you, or not connection. This weekend we're having I believe it's called the Asian Festival, because we're such a small city. We do not have a Chinatown. We just have an Asia town. There's my Cleveland update.
I was gonna say it's probably the best place to eat in all of Cleveland. I bet the food is unreal.
Yeah, the food's insane. The fuss about ramen, pho, everything is just phenomenal out there.
Fun fact, my daughter's favorite food, she's not even 7 yet, she's 6.5. And her favorite food on planet Earth is pho. Like if we're ever we're like, Louie, where do you want to go eat? She's like, pho. I want to go eat pho. It's the only thing she'll eat in its entirety. It's incredible.
That's really cool. I think that's special. Pho is like my favorite food.
Yeah.
How special is it, especially now that you're becoming friends with, or you're very close with Egan, to kind of have like you, Grace, and Egan are kind of all the new guard coming up, like, and you guys are all similar in age, I believe.
Yeah.
And you're all in the same movie coming up together too, and it's called what, a Midwinter's Night Dream, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Are people really into? Are you guys all super into Shakespeare, or why is it named that?
That's like kind of more of a question for Desiree, but I think there's going to be some sort of like theatrical, like kind of poemy side to it. Like I think in the summer we're going to do some acting for it. So yeah, we'll see what the theme kind of looks like, but I think that's kind of why it's called that. And yeah, at first, like I didn't grow up riding with any snowboarders or girls. And like at first it kind of felt a little intimidating, one, because I was showing up to like competitions where I'm supposed to be going against these girls, and then eventually like start becoming a little more friends. Like Egan and I last year at Mission Ridge just got thrown into a house together and got a room together, and Sierra was there too, and we all just like smoked weed and hung out, and it was fun. And then now I've been like in Salt Lake, so I like used to hit Egan up and be like, hey, can I like stay at your house? Like last year for the grit thing, and like for some other stuff I like stayed at her house. And then as the van thing kind of came up a little more, I'd be like, yay, I can park my van outside your house. And it was just like a fun thing we talked about. But then like now that's like literally what I did all year. Yeah. And at first like snowboarding was a little scary. It kind of felt like we were competing all the time a little bit. I remember one time, and Egan and I have talked about this before, at Trollhagen, there was like a Clackamas County rail, and I was like, well, we were both trying to front board it, and I don't know, it was just like a thing, like we weren't talking about it, and we both knew we were trying to front board it, and like this year we talked about it, and we were like, remember that? Like, kind of funny. And then like this year we were like, she's a lot better at going off jumps than I am. She like used to hit the jumps at Breckenridge. She's comfortable, and that's something that like I want to get a little better at. So I like follow her off, and like I started trying like back threes, and she's like, you got to be a little more patient. And at first I was like, like shut up. But now I'm like, okay, she's trying to help me, and like we've figured out a really cool like relationship that we have now, where we push each other, and like I'll try something on a rail and she'll try something on a jump, and we're both like pushing each other, and it's really cool. And we've now been able to like talk about it, which is cool, because I will say at first we had like a little, I don't know, it's just like intimidating. You're like riding, there's not that many girls, and then you're like, oh gosh, they're trying that, like I should try that. So it was a little thing we had to get past, not like any beef or nothing, just like something I noticed. And then now it's like he knows my skill level and I know hers, and like I think that we can help support each other and like believing in each other. It's like, hey, like I know you got this, and like she always says like, you're really good at snowboarding, you got this. Like we both kind of do our own little things to like hype each other up. Like I don't know, it's been really cool and special, and it really works out that I like park outside her house, and we're kind of on the same little vibe of like eating and waking up and stretching a little and going to the mountain. Like we can work together pretty well, which is, it's nice.
Very cool. Well, you're in a very special time in your career. You're going to have a long career, and it sounds like you're really enjoying it and living it up.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess, where do you want to see your career go in like 5 years? Like in 5 years, where do you see yourself?
I want to keep filming street. I definitely want to get more into the backcountry. I will have a bigger van by then, and I don't know. I'm just gonna kind of keep like taking all the opportunities that are popping up. Like it's kind of crazy like how this has all happened, and I think it's mostly because of me just like making decisions to follow my heart and like do what feels right, and like it's all gonna happen as it's supposed to. So I'm kind of just like following it, because I just still never thought any of this would really happen. In terms of goals, like I write down tricks I want to do, like certain rails I want to make sure I get done, like I don't know, and I'll just keep knocking out all those goals, and hopefully it all happens as it's supposed to.
I think your style, like one thing we really haven't talked about, but I think your style has also been a huge reason for all the opportunity. Like you look very smooth snowboarding. You look extremely comfortable. You make it look like you make it fun. A lot of your edits and stuff are very bubbly and like good music, and you're bouncing around with your brother or friends. And then like, not to mention, like you have an insanely stylish front board, and in all the bigger contests you're riding in, you're showing like that you are one of the most stylish riders right now, which is pretty crazy.
It's poised too, in like seeing big moments. That's why I'm here. Mark, to find.
The one thing I'd want to see, this doesn't really have to do with the interview, but I want to see snowboarding adopt a major league aspect for trading. Let's just say there became a riders union, and all of a sudden all the brands, like if you had a 5-year contract, you know, and they were like, oh, you know, we had a down year, we're going to have to cut some people. Instead of cutting people, they just start trading to other brands. Maybe this comes along with like healthcare and everything, and then riders just start getting bopped around to like, you go to Solomon, then you go to, you know, like I would like to see that. I think that'd be really funny to see like Danny Davis get traded to Never Summer for a year, and like and just like people just getting swapped out that are iconic, like a LeBron in Cleveland per se going to the Lakers, you know, like put on somebody and put them to a different team. Sorry, that's just something I've been thinking about the past few days.
Oh, crazy idea, Mark.
Yeah, fully side rant, but I think that would be hilarious if we start trading riders. And they have to go live in different scenes. If you get traded from Ride to, I don't know, like the Never Summer, you have to move from Salt Lake to Colorado. You're not allowed to stay in Salt Lake anymore.
Wow,
then
what
would Iris do in her van? She could remain in the van. You got to keep her in the van.
Yeah, for sure. Well, she could have like she could get put on 10-day waivers and just ride it a bunch, or you know, she'd be the on the road and Never Summer rider.
I like that.
Yeah. Sorry, very random. I think that's the signal. We're about done with this.
Iris, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you for the last hour. You're gonna go surf a river wave, and Mark and I are gonna sit behind our computers and do work all day. I'd rather be doing what you're doing.
Aw.
I don't know how cold is the river?
I don't know, probably like 50 degrees, but we're wearing wetsuits.
I'm good. I'm okay sitting here. I'll wait till the water gets a little warmer.
It says it's going to be 86 today.
Yeah, it feels good because you like doing all the crazy breathing stuff and Wim Hof and probably jumping into ice baths. I don't like doing that.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. Enjoy. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Yeah.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate you having me on here.
Oh, wait, we didn't ask. How are we compared to the bomb hole professional level?
This is
Way
fun. You guys
low.
are fun.
Way low.
How, has your life changed since you've been on the bomb hole 3 days ago or 4 days ago or whenever you were on it?
Maybe a little bit. I talked about some stuff that I've never really talked about publicly, so I'm excited for it to be out there.
Cool.
Very cool.
Do you think your life will change after being on our podcast?
Yeah.
For the worse. You might lose some sponsorships.
No, Mark, come on. Definitely not.
Oh yeah, I guess we don't want to put that out there. We don't want to lose more guests in the future. It's gonna get so much better.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
this
we
is
are
great. You guys are killing it.
We're in the top 200 in Chile.
Yeah, good job. Get on the leaderboard.
Iris Pham, what a human. She's awesome. Like, admittedly, I think, as I said earlier in the show, I've met her once, maybe twice, and she was such a sweetheart. But I feel like I was a fan of her from a distance before this episode, and now I'm a fan of her up close because I actually got to like spend some real time with her, and she's great. That was a really, really fun chat.
Yeah. I definitely had a portion of my life that I really wanted to do van life as well. I think I'm really glad I didn't, but she seems to be very much enjoying it. So good for her.
The Cleveland equivalent of a van be like a windowless, like former ice cream truck that plays a weird jingle while it's driving around.
Actually, to be fair, when I first started working with you, when I moved to California, I did live out of a 1994 Toyota Camry for a month and a half, and it wasn't that bad. It kind of sucked, but it wasn't that bad.
Why didn't you just come stay on my couch?
You guys locked me out like all the time.
We didn't lock you out.
Most definitely did, but that's okay.
We had a pretty open door policy in our house.
Yeah, unless it was me needing a place to sleep at like 1:30 in the morning. No, I slept in a roundabout or like a little cul-de-sac near a Motel 6 in Carlsbad. I would leave the office and then I would get an In-N-Out burger and I'd keep the tray and I would sit, and there was actually a little tiny enclave of vans there. So it became a little community. But then my little Camry was just kind of parked in the corner. People were cool with it.
When I was living in Salt Lake City and still working at Snowboarder, I would have to drive down from Salt Lake City like once a month, maybe once every 2 months. And I had a cap on my Tacoma and I put like an air mattress in there. I had this little like cooler for, beers and little snacks and stuff. And I would just sleep in the parking lot. And I remember there was a shower in that Carlsbad office and I would wake up at like 6 a.m., get a shower in before anybody got to the office because I think they still thought I lived in Southern California.
Oh, I did. I remember I used that shower so much. I didn't have an air mattress though. I just literally put the seat down in the front seat. I had back problems for months after that.
All right, buddy. Iris episode is in the books. We actually have to hop over to a Snowboard Mag meeting here in a little bit. So I'll see you in about 15 minutes. But hey, great job today, buddy. I was watching you operate today and kind of, ask your questions and really dig into this thing. And it makes sense why we're top 200 in the country of Chile in the sports category after watching you work today.
Hola, gracias. Muchos gracias. Talk to you very soon.
Later, buddy.